it's Suki here and welcome to the Fashion Notebook. Today, as you can tell from the title, I am going to talk about something very different from fashion. It is definitely something that I've always wanted to tell you guys about, but I'm never really sure if it's appropriate to put it in my channel. But then recently I've been watching quite a lot of YouTubers talking about their own personal stories and sharing about their hard times in life, and I thought that they are just really inspirational to watch, and it really helped me to reflect about my own life and change the perspective I see my life, and I feel like I should do one as well. And I just think whether or not you might enjoy it or if you might find it really depressing, I feel like it is a story that I would want to document for myself, just for myself to look back like maybe 10 years later. Since this is such an important event in my lifetime, I just want to have the ability to remember it forever in detail. And I feel like right now it still happened quite recently. It happened 3 years ago, so I still remember most of the details, and I don't want to be able to forget it, because probably most likely in like 5 years later I'll just forget about the details about what happened. And I hope that there's still this video for me to look back at and just to remind myself what actually happened during that time phase in my life and how I overcame the difficulty. So those are the two main reasons why I'm making this video. If you don't want to watch it and you think it's a bit depressing, please leave. And if you do want to know more about what happened, stay and watch to the end. As an overview, yes, I got diagnosed with brain inflammation at the age of 15, and I got into a coma for 8 days, and I wasn't able to walk, talk, and was just not a normal human being for a few months. So now I'm going to tell you in detail what actually happened and how I recovered and what I've learned. It was June 2015. What got me into a brain inflammation was simply a common cold. Yes, I was really unlucky and few of the rarest one on earth to have gotten a brain inflammation from just a simple cold, not even a flu, just a cold. How this happened is basically narrated from my parents. I got all the sources from my parents because I was unconscious the whole time. I forgot everything that happened, and my parents basically just told me what happened themselves. According to them, on the day before my coma, I was just acting very strangely. I was already unconscious. It was just a normal morning, and then my mom just wanted to wake me up for breakfast, but then I wasn't responding to her at all. I opened my eyes, but I didn't talk to her or anything. And then she summoned my dad, and my dad came up, and the same happened. So he just thought that maybe I'm going through a relationship breakup, which I wasn't, because I wasn't dating back then. But then he thought maybe I am, and I'm like having a mental breakdown myself. So he wanted to give me more space. So they just left me alone in my room. And then a few hours later, they just thought it's so strange how I just didn't go out for breakfast and anything. I didn't get hungry at all. And they just called me down for lunch and they just fetched me, basically. They just pull me out of bed and just tell me to eat. And I did eat, and I was still very not responsive. I did respond to their questions, but I was just so like not me, without any energy. And then I vomited everything I ate. They were a bit concerned, so they decided to call the ambulance and sent me to the hospital. And when I was in the hospital, I was on my way to the hospital, I fell asleep, and then I just never woke up, and that's why I got into coma. Yeah, and then they just diagnosed me with brain inflammation. I was sent to the intensive care unit, which is like abbreviated as ICU, where I have basically a lot of medical care. And through the time where I had my coma, I just basically had a tracheal intubation tube through my airway to keep me breathing, and then there's also another tube to my stomach to make sure I am fed and I am alive. Basically, those 8 days were just daunting for my parents. I can't imagine just having a family member being unconscious and seeing them suffer so much through all the tubes and all the needles going through like the family member's body. I just feel really bad for my parents. But For me myself, the hardest part was when I woke up, and it was just so painful when they had to pull the tubes out, and needles were still in my arms since they have to inject antibiotics in my body every single day just to kill the viruses and things. But the chews were just really, oh my gosh, I just couldn't even describe the pain. And then my lips were so chapped and dry because I have been opening my mouth for like 8 days, and it was just horrible. When I woke up, I was still very like non-responsive. I couldn't walk because, as expected, my muscle didn't move at all for 8 days. My muscle just deteriorated, and then I couldn't talk as well because my lips were so chapped, and I just everything in me was just not functioning properly. I also wasn't able to urinate or do number two for I can't even remember how long, and it was just so difficult for me since my mom just had to shower for me, had to like, oh, it was, I just felt like a useless person, and I couldn't stop crying the first few weeks of me recovering from my coma because it was just so difficult for me, and I just felt like I couldn't be a normal person anymore since just simple tasks like walking and even urinating I couldn't do. And I remember that I was so depressed, and then I had to do like extraction through my private area, and I just felt useless because whenever I want to urinate, people have to basically do it for me. So it was such a difficult time in my life, and I'm so glad that I have recovered fully, and now I am a fully functional human being. And the photo in the thumbnail just means a lot to me because it basically symbolizes the love my family gives me. Like during the recent time after I left the hospital, whenever I see the photo, I just burst out of tears because it reminds me of everything I've been through that few months when I was in the hospital, and just thinking about the immense amount of time my parents come every single day, but they never seem unhappy or like worried. Whenever they come, they just look really happy, and they always just say that it's nothing big. You don't have to worry about anything. And I know they're just saying it because they don't want me to worry. They don't want me to be scared that I might not be able to recover. And I think really without them supporting me by my side through this journey, I can never be able to stand here and just be a normal human being. One of the things that my mom and dad told me that really did shock me was that the doctor told my parents when I haven't woke up from my coma to be mentally prepared that I might be a vegetable. There is a high chance that even if I wake up, I will have learning disabilities since it's been too long. Mine is more than a week. Yeah, so I'm just not ashamed to say that I am definitely a miracle myself to have been able to recover really quickly and to be able to talk to you guys right here and share my story without any difficulty, without any assistance. And I don't think I could do this without my parents being by my side all the time. I basically left the hospital after around 3 months in there. Yeah, I got transferred to normal hospital rooms instead of ICU after around a month of recovery in ICU. To be honest, I think I've recovered quite quickly, and being able to transfer rooms from ICU to a regular room is already a big step. I really was proud of myself being able to do that in such a quick way. And then what I remember that happened during when I was in coma is that my brain was still active the whole time. That's all I can tell you. Like I was dreaming. The feeling of being in coma is nothing different than the feeling of being falling asleep. I dreamt a lot of different dreams, and I don't think I can remember all of them because since it has been 3 years already. But dreams that I can still remember now is being on a hot air balloon. That is one of a dream. being on a open green field filled with grass and I'm the only person alone there, that's another dream. And then being in Japan in like one of those carnival where there's like stores and there's like when people use paper net to catch goldfish, that kind of festival stores. And then I went into a noodle making festival store. That was one of the dream. And the last dream I had before I wake up from my coma, I remember very clearly, was that I was in a hospital room that was filled with like skulls, and all of the skulls are pure white. Yeah. And then I see a scientist there, and he was wearing a lab coat, and he was bald, which I think should be my dad. I don't know because my dad is bald as well, but I forgot how he looks like. But I think the first person that I saw when I woke up was my dad, and he was next to me holding my hands. After I woke up and after I transferred to a normal hospital room, I started my physiotherapy and my verbal recovery rehabilitation. Physiotherapy basically include putting weight on my legs and lifting my legs, holding those long, what do you call those long tube of thing, and you walk whilst holding those things. And then doctors also will hit my knee joint with like a hammer or something like that to make sure I have like a good reflex action. And then verbal training is basically talking to nurses, just listening to people speak and just verbally respond to them. And I basically have recovered quite quickly. And throughout that time, I am just so grateful to have such an amazing group of friends, families, relatives, everyone who showed care. Basically, there was on average someone that, except for my parents, visited me. Yeah, like either my friends, my relatives, just someone came to visit me on average every single day, and people just bought me a lot of presents, cards, made me videos, and I nearly cried every single day, not because of sadness, but I was just so moved by the compassion everyone has, and I was just so touched. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that I know that have contributed in my life in whatever way. To this day, I am still not sure what specifically caused my coma, and doctors have been trying so hard to figure out the actual cause instead of just vaguely calling it a cold. They wanted to see what virus causes my brain inflammation. Therefore, I have been through so many bone marrow extraction. That is basically pulling bone marrow through the bottom of my spine and see if they can find any evidences of virus in there. But after the 3 trials of bone marrow extraction, they still couldn't figure out what actually caused my brain inflammation. So rather than spending time and money trying to figure it out, I agree with them as they said that it is more important that I've actually recovered. If it doesn't matter if I don't know what actually caused it, as long as I am well and healthy right now. And I can't even tell you the pain of bone marrow extraction is like, if I don't know if period pain is ranked 10 out of 10, bone marrow extraction is like 450 out of 10, because like it's in the bottom of your spine, therefore it just affects everything you do. If I move a bit, it just hurts so much, and it normally takes around 3 days for recovery, and I did it for 3 times. So it was just such a painful experience. And yeah, like I've been through so much pain because of my coma, but I don't want to complain about me having a coma because I feel like it just teaches me a lot of life lessons, and it changes the way I look to life. Right now, I still regularly go check up with my neurologist to see if there are any problem, but I'm doing fine. I still take regular medication to avoid myself having seizures. Since after my coma experience, I had in total 6 seizures at home, but 2 of the seizures I was sent to hospital, and then the other 4 I just learned how to cope with it. My parents are more familiar to how to solve the problem when I have a seizure, and they know what to do. And whenever I have a seizure, I just vomit white bubbles through my mouth, which sounds daunting, but it is just something normal that happens to me now. And I haven't had a seizure for half a year, nearly half a year already now, so that is great. And I feel like I'm really fully recovered, and I can't believe I am going to university in less than half a year. Hopefully, I'm going to University of Sheffield and studying digital media and society. And yeah, that is basically my story summed up. I really don't know what else to say, but something that I learned from my coma experience is that nothing is impossible. Because okay, it's so cliche, I want to puke, but it's definitely a phrase that I use to sum up my experience. Since after my coma experience, I immediately joined the 24-hour running race, despite that I couldn't even walk. And I completed the relay because I wanted to give back to the society and do something good. So I actually challenged myself, even though my parents were so against it. But I did it, and I am still here in full pieces. So if I can do it, you can do it. So I want you all to do me a favor today and just do something good to give back to the society, from either doing something small by holding the door for the person behind you, or doing something big by donating or contributing to some charity events. A really iconic experience of my life, really changed the way I looked at my life and how I take so many things for granted. And I hope watching this video also make you feel the same way, and make you not take anything for granted anymore. Because before you complain about something in your life, you have to look at everything in the bigger picture, since you're just a small fish in a pond and you don't know what other people are going through. And yeah, that's it. I will see you guys next week with a less depressing and serious video. Bye!